Hello. I think that means we're live. I'm not sure. We'll just talk as though we are, and hopefully some people are listening. So thank you very much, everyone who has joined us today. I'm Leonie. I am the MD of Creative Studio Coffee and TV, and I'm really thrilled to be hosting this little discussion that has a very, very bold title: Transatlantic Triumph. And I'll be speaking with the creative director of Coffee and TV, Steve Waugh, and Brandy Wisman, who is the vice president. And Brandy, I've written this down so I don't get it wrong. The vice president of AV Promotions, Reality and Alternative at Fox Broadcasting Company, which is a very long title. So thank you so much, Brandy, for dialing in all the way from LA. What time is it with you at the moment?
Oh, it's just 9 a.m. here.
Oh, it's 9 a.m. That's fine. That's a totally reasonable time to start your day. Brandy, would you mind, darling, telling us a little bit more about your role with the very long title?
Oh, yes. I oversee for any unscripted or specials that air on Fox, any of the AV components that go with that. So any promos, promo shoots, or any like social content that's created comes through my team.
Amazing. And then I, of course, know Steve very well. He's my colleague and my friend. But Steve, pretend I don't know you. What is your role at Coffee and TV? Tell us a bit more about that.
Right, so I'm creative director at Coffee and TV. Really, that means just overseeing the creative output of the entire studio, which encompasses all of our specialisms of visual effects, design, direction, production, color, and just making sure that everyone's happy and creating some wonderful work, really.
Excellent, which tends to work very well for us. So we are here together today because at the beginning of this year, we worked on a very brilliant project together. So, and during which Brandy was our client. So we thought it would be a good idea to chat through the process, what worked, what maybe didn't work, but crucially, what worked for us working across oceans, which came with challenges that we overcame. So hopefully that will be useful for the audience watching today. So let's kick off. First question. Can you both share with us the story behind the collaboration between Fox and Coffee and TV? So how that collaboration, how you found us, how it led to the creation of Next Level Chef promos, and what were the driving factors that brought us together? Brandy, I guess you found us first, so you should probably start.
Well, it started with here in the States, the biggest thing on television is the Super Bowl. And we found out that Next Level Chef was going to premiere after the Super Bowl. So we needed to make sure that we launched this in the biggest way possible. The challenge for us was that it was shooting in the UK, and that Gordon was going to be there from, basically the time that we would need him to do a promo shoot for us, he was going to be in London. So that we had to start looking for, partners across the pond. So we have a production group who reached out to 3 different agencies, Coffee and TV being one of them. One of the driving factors was not only that they have an amazing production department, but they also have a great VFX, because once you see the spots, you'll see that VFX was a huge part of these spots. And basically in the process of meeting, we kind of run by the seat of our pants here at network TV sometimes. And so we were still locking scripts and we were still figuring out exactly what we wanted to do. And Coffee and TV, they were the most flexible. Like, they kind of got it. They knew that they got the concept, they could bid for us, and they really reassured us that wherever we landed, that they could help us out. And that kind of set them apart from the other 2 agencies. And so we eventually went with Coffee and TV.
Excellent. Lucky us. And so, Steve, tell us about the journey from receiving that brief initially.
Yeah, so I hope Brandy doesn't mind me saying this, but the concept was still in a little bit of development when they first reached out to us. And we sort of pride ourselves at being able to kind of step in at any stage of production. and don't mind if it's really early at kind of concept stage, or it could be right the way at sort of delivery time. But what we've built here is a really flexible approach. So we're just full of problem solvers, really. And we're more than happy if things aren't quite so rigid at that point. So visual effects is sort of at the heart of everything we do, and the sort of the VFX component in here was a kind of a natural starting point for all of those conversations. We reached out to our wider family, and we hired Josh Cohen, who was the director, who was brilliant to work with and got on really well with the Fox team as well.
Amazing. Yes, I remember well when that script came in, because old scripts, everyone was very excited, Brandy, as you can imagine. So let's talk about the challenges that you faced working across borders with, let's face it, very different, presumably different market dynamics, and I can imagine different cultural nuances, let's say. Can you both highlight those nuances, or your experience of them anyway?
I think the number one challenge was probably the time change. So until we got to London, just coordinating and meeting was a little bit of a challenge since we're so off. I think my favorite story from the experience was once we got to set on the lighting day. We were checking out the sets that were built, and one of them for the football script was a young person's apartment, and there was a neon Bronx side sign on one side of the wall, and then across the room there was a surfboard. And I was just kind of like, surfing is kind of more of a California thing, and the Bronx would be New York, so that wouldn't really be in the same apartment. So, we removed the surfboard and it was fine, but it was just funny to think that, Londoners just think of us Americans as all one, like New York, California, whatever.
You mean they're not surfing in New York?
I'm sure there's some people that do, but it's not.
Yeah. It's funny. I've heard an anecdote. A friend of mine works a lot with the US and said she had to learn not to say, okay, I'll put that meeting in my diary, because Americans thought that she was going home and writing about it. Dear diary, today I met with, but no, she meant her schedule. So I've started to try and remind myself to schedule things and not put it in my diary. Steve, from your point of view, any cultural nuances?
Well, I think the key thing for us was just to kind of iron over those a bit by just constant sharing. So obviously the surfboard kind of slipped through the net somewhat, but just that constant sharing and constant updating, going all the way from storyboards through to crapomatics, as Josh called them, shooting everything on his phone, sharing the art direction boards as early as we can, just to that was the kind of solution to any of those cultural nuances, is just to weed them out as early in the process as possible.
So it sounds like, collaboration was absolutely key to the success in this. And so do you think from your experiences, did you have to, was that collaboration, was that communication more so than usual? Did you have to over communicate?
Yeah, I think so. I think by the end of it, we were communicating every day. I think there was a 5 o'clock slot booked every day, just so we didn't have to scrabble around trying to get people together for the call. It was just everyone was on the call at 5 o'clock and we all knew where we stood and we were all there, really.
Brilliant. And then, so what sort of, given the challenges of the time difference, what do you think was important for you to sort of foster that positive, successful partnership? I mean, it's a leading question because I know the answer, because you've spoken before about sort of actually acknowledging the time difference and respecting that.
Oh yeah, Steve, you were saying that you would not email us in the middle of the night.
Yeah, so just saying about it's about respecting boundaries a little bit and respecting that time differences, and just holding back those emails and making sure they're sent at a reasonable hour, so we're not making each other work all through the night and all through the morning, really.
Yeah. And on the same token, we knew that your day would start when we were asleep. So we would always try to make sure we got any notes and everything so that it was waiting for you in your inbox so that you could start the day with it. So we were very cognizant of that as well.
I mean, one of the benefits we find of that time zone difference is that in many occasions we can get a day's work under our belts to present to you, so that you're waking up with a fresh batch of work there, kind of ready to go. I mean, a lot of the work we were doing, on talking about the visual effects side of things, like the Gordon falling through the floorboards, all those simulations were done in advance of the shoot, so that, you know, that journey was done well in advance. But it just means that we could have feedback addressed in time for the next meeting that you would wake up to. So there are advantages into that time difference in times.
Yeah, it was great because we'd be finding out in the morning what had been done and where we needed to go next. So it did kind of work out great. You guys always had something to show us.
Yes. I mean, it would have been worrying if we hadn't had something to show you. I'm looking back at my questions. So, I mean, I think you've touched on this already, but if you've got anything more to add, I'm just considering, like, the audience that we've got today, if you've got any top tips for collaborating, maybe tech that you employed, if there was any that you can share.
Yeah, I mean, we there's a lot of tech we employ for sort of sharing remotely. We use Frame.io a lot. If we're doing a live flame session, we'll use Looper, which is just like being there in the suite, really, but you're in obviously a different time zone. And there's another bit of software called Looper, which Clearview, which we use, which is more for our color grading setup. But I think the tech side of it is more about the communication, though, really, and getting that communication going. I would suggest. I think a key lesson, not a lesson, but something we try to do anyway, is have a sort of continuity of key talent throughout a project as well. So, like, when we were having these daily meetings, everyone's on these calls just to keep everybody in the loop. But just making sure that, our exec producer was on every call, I was on every call. So there's always a familiar face there, but also when you're sort of at the business end of things in the post-production visual effects thing, you're always talking to someone, the artists are always talking to someone who's been along that journey and understands sort of the reasons behind everything. But yeah, you hear stories that it's nothing more frustrating for a client to just constantly be speaking to new people as the journey evolves. Having that continuity, I think, is always a good thing, and that probably goes across many businesses, I'd imagine.
Yeah, because it sounds like an enormous waste of time to have to re-explain the position every time. Yeah. So then how long were you guys in pre-production before the shoot? Can you remember?
It was a while ago now.
I know. I feel like we had like a month lead up, I want to say. So in the last couple of weeks, at least the last 2 or 3 that we would meet daily, it was nice because it's not like we waited until something came up. We just knew that there would be stuff we needed to touch base on. So there were the daily meetings. And then I think I was in London for about a week. So we were there a couple of days before to check out the pre-light and see the sets and everything like that and get on the same page.
Yeah. It must have been nice after all that prep time to meet in person. And then how many of you came out of interest from Fox?
I think it was just 3 of us that were on set.
Oh, okay. Well,
there was 4 when you count. We had some behind the scenes stuff that we had a whole print team come that you guys very nicely accommodated as well. Like on the first day, Gordon was getting his stills done in one area. We were doing our BTS and EPK in another area. And then the big shoot was going on all around it. So that was a much larger group. So that was probably like 8. to 10 people that came for all of those things.
And your experience on set, I mean, I've heard stories that came from the shoot, but all in all, was it a sort of positive experience once you'd landed and recovered from your jet lag and you were in the studio?
I mean, it was freezing, but Alana, on your end, being a SoCal girl myself, she got me a heater and a blanket.
Okay.
Always cold. But other than that, it was lovely.
Welcome to London. Brill. So I just want to highlight, because I'm incredibly proud, how successful that partnership was, in that the end result, the promos won, I'm just looking at my notes here. So they won gold at Promax for best reality and unscripted program. And they won another as well, did they not, Brandy?
They won, the holiday party one won the gold for like a standalone spot, and then the entire campaign won silver. And then I'm actually attending an award show tomorrow night where we are shortlisted for the Clios. So hopefully we'll walk away with a Clio as well.
Oh, exciting.
Fingers crossed.
Keep us posted.
Will do.
So Steve, given the success of this project, I mean, it's worth noting, obviously, this wasn't our first disco, but it's certainly been a stepping stone for coffee and TV expansion into the American market. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it wasn't our first American project, but I think the time is probably our biggest one at that point. It was just generally massively reassuring. I mean, we were lucky to have such genuinely lovely clients to work with. And that one-to-one relationship was just absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it was massively reassuring and gave us a huge amount of confidence. We do already now do a lot more work with the US, and in the coming weeks we will be sort of having physical offices in both LA and New York, and we're already taking on scripts from all over the States, really. So it's definitely a growing relationship with us and the US, and yeah, bit more of a footprint over there very, very soon.
Like you say, it just works. And I think from, if I was looking through your eyes, Brandy, and I'm aware of what sort of rates they're charging in the US and how considerably more competitive we are in the UK, it's sort of a new no-brainer for you guys to work with us. So how about you, Brandy? Have you got any more desire to come over and get cold again?
I mean, look, it was such a lovely experience. I'll say, the driving factor was where the talent was located. So since Gordon was in London, that kind of dictated where we were shooting. But I do know that like when we have a lot of stuff shooting in Ireland now, and still some stuff shooting in the UK, and our desire is always to try and do it back home, like, oh, can we get them here? But I think after this experience, there won't, it's not as urgent to try and do it in the States. It's like we've had such great success with this that it would totally make sense to do something over there again.
Brilliant. And then finally, what can you tell us about working with Gordon Ramsay? Is he as sweary in real life as he is on TV?
Gordon is the nicest person you will ever meet, and a consummate professional. I mean, the only thing I'll say is he does not want to be sitting around on set, so you have to make sure he has something to do at every minute. Yeah.
But I'm sure there was so much work to shoot. I'm sure you were keeping him busy, Steve.
Yeah, I'd second that. He was genuinely a really lovely person to work with, like absolutely professional. He was happy to do multiple takes just to cover ourselves and to get the best performance. I think he really helped the other talent around him kind of relax and be confident, and we got some great performances out of them too. It's a funny moment when he ate the prop potato, thinking it was a real potato, but that just goes to show the art department how great they were. But yeah, he was a lovely person to work with, really.
just to build on that, like he'll tell you, don't let me slide. Like if you need another take, like make me do another take. Like I'm here to get it right. Like let's get this right. And he means it. He's also, we had two lovely children on our holiday set, and he is just the best with kids. Like he's just the best. He's just my favorite. He's amazing.
Oh, that's so nice. And given that we've got a little bit more time, I'm going to go through some of the questions. And I also wanted you to chat about the flooring, Steve, just because I think that's a really, talking of cultural nuances.
It was just the level of detail we went into research the cultural differences. So Gordon's falling through the floor at, I don't know, 50 miles an hour, and there's probably 3 or 4 frames there where you actually see the flooring. But we went into deep research about the different layout of floorboards and beams and structures of American flooring, just so it felt completely authentic.
Yeah, because there's going to be one audience member that's going to say, those structural beams don't quite look authentic. There's always one. So I'm just reading the questions. This is an interesting question. Was the Fox local agency involved at all from a creative perspective? Did they oversee the relationship? That's from Beth Johnson. So she's asking if there was a London entity overseeing the local relationship.
Nope, it was just between LA and you guys.
Excellent. And
It's
that
a very
worked.
streamlined process, really, wasn't it? There was no extra production companies or agencies in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Did that make it easier, do you think?
Personally, yes, I think so. Just that direct, there's no passing down of messages down the chain. It was that daily meeting. Everyone's face to face. Nothing's getting lost anywhere down the chain. So yeah,
there's
a very efficient and speedy way of working.
There's a sort of joyous simplicity in that, isn't it?
Yeah,
don't overcomplicate.
Agencies don't have their place in this world, but that was a very good relationship.
And then, thank you, Ad Association, who have posted the work. You can see it. It links. It's in the chat. It links to our website, and you can see all 3 spots there. Given the success of the Fox work, would Fox look to use Coffee and TV as a regular production agency? This is brilliant. Beth Johnson sounds like we've paid her to ask that question. She doesn't work at Coffee and TV.
Not yet.
Or only for the UK-based projects. Does Coffee and TV now have a base in LA? Very good question. And yes, we do. We have a presence in LA. We're currently building that out, which is very exciting. Like Steve mentioned, we're already working a lot with LA and getting briefs in on a sort of almost a daily basis. But in the coming weeks, we're going to be building an actual physical studio there. Pete Chapman, when will the recording for this session and yesterday's be uploaded to your YouTube? I have no idea. I don't know. I know a few people who couldn't make the session. Thanks for thinking of them, Pete. Oh, and then Ad Association have replied. It's okay. Pete's fine. Brandy, I'm an agency that is new to the US. What is your suggestion for approaching new clients? What type of new biz approaches do you find acceptable? Oh, I love that question. I want to know the answer.
That's interesting. I mean, I think, a compelling reel is always great. And then I think if you're able to get a meeting to come in and just sort of present your capabilities is always a good idea.
Yeah.
To walk us through your reel and what you have and your different personnel. We typically do those.
Yeah. I think we've been able to visit recently as well, haven't we?
Yes.
In TV team, yeah.
I like that idea, though, that the reel comes first. It's not about sending donuts to your studio. It's the work, the craft comes first.
I mean, for me, it's always the work and just to see what what's been done and what your part in making it happen is. Most of the production teams we work with, it's very much a partnership. we usually come up with the concept. We have a whole group of creatives that work for Fox. So we usually come up with a concept and then find a production team. So, you know, just to see people's capabilities and how they can execute that is always key.
Brilliant. And there is no more questions. Have you guys got anything that you want to add to this? Anything else to say?
Not particularly, just to reiterate, it was just an absolute joy of a job, and everyone here thoroughly enjoyed the journey and thoroughly proud of the output at the end of it.
It really was. And to Coffee and TV's credit too, I think one of the things that I found refreshing is that the director was on the calls with us too, once we got closer to, and we had direct access to talking to the director. So to Steve's point of just like streamlining stuff, there wasn't this like we had to go through you guys to communicate something to the director. It was very much a team effort that I think, you know, I think the proof is in the pudding. You know, it's like we had a great product that came from this, and I think it was because of the great teamwork that went into it.
Yeah. Oh, that's just the most wonderful sentiment to end on. Thank you, Brandy. And I just want to highlight that in the chat, there is links to some sessions that are following as part of International Trade Week with the Ad Association and UK AG. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks for everyone for coming. Thank you so much, Brandy, for dialing in from LA, and Steve from across in the other room. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
Bye. Thank you for having me.